them birds gonna fly. You already know. Rain, sleet, or snow. Eagles train to go.
All right, let's talk about it. Bald Eagle coming back at you with a recap. The Eagles have a bye week in week 9. So this is a mid-season point for the Eagles right here. So this is going to be a recap of everything they've done so far in the last 8 weeks, seeing where they're standing in the NFL, in the NFC, and the NFC East. So starting off talking about the Eagles, we talk about the owner of the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie. Just start with the top of the organization. The ownership is real hungry for success, and they exhibited what they want for the team as well, because this guy right here just wants to win. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't shy away from spending the money to get the team what they need to succeed. So shout out to him, man. And then Howie Roseman does a great work as well, bringing the players in and, doing deals that works out for everybody. The players are happy to come play for the Eagles. And he also, retains them at prices that works out for everybody. So shout out to him as well, man. Works very hard. And after getting a taste of that championship, they just want more, and they've been working towards that. So shout out to the front office. The coaches, just evaluating them so far, what they've done these last few weeks, starting with the head coach, Nick Sirianni. He's still Nick Sirianni, man. CEO, head coach, navigating things on the offense and defense, mostly on the offensive side, but even though we don't really want him there too much, but, that's his side of the ball. And that's really what he's still doing. And the coach speak, that's what he does. Try to motivate the guys, give the media little to nothing, but same word salad all the time. But I think he still has the locker room right now. So he's doing pretty okay in my eyes, And the guy that's standing right behind him, his boy that he vouches for, that put him on the hot seat more than anything in the beginning of the season, Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. He had a rough start. He started out really rough, and things were very hard for him initially. First-time play caller, didn't know much of what he was doing and didn't look like it. Had a bunch of great players to work with, but wasn't doing much with them. And it didn't help him much that the offensive line wasn't performing their best. So it just affected everything he was trying to get going as a first-time play caller, and also for the team too, adjusting to a first-time play caller. So it was very hard on Kevin Patullo to start. It was a lot of growing pains, but they've been overcoming that. Been better showings recently. So Kevin Patullo, he's starting to shape out well. And, got to give the guy some time to find his footing. For the defensive coordinator, Fangio, we know what to expect with him. Steady ship with a new crew. That's really what's going on with him. He's to be trusted, but right now he has a new crew that he's working with. So it's not quite the same, and it didn't start out quite the same. But because it was him, they were able to be disciplined enough to get the wins where they were going to get wins, and, get out of those games while adjusting for the next one. But right now it seems that things are clicking, because in the last few weeks, even though they still have problems in the cornerback position, specifically the CB2 position, they've been able to even hide that a little bit with things that they're doing in the defense. Fangio does great work all the time. He's to be trusted, even with the new crew now, starting to steady the ship with the new crew, even though it was still seemingly under control. There's even additions to that that's going to help out the defense a lot more. The defense in general right now is getting better weekly. And stats are not going to show those improvements, but the defense is absolutely getting better every week right now. They're still letting a lot of passing yards go, but they've definitely stopped the rushing yards in recent weeks. So they still have to work on the passing games, stopping that, because they're getting wins with the opposing quarterback still being able to throw for 300 yards. So they still have to, watch that. But the running yards have been minimized, especially with Nakobe Dean coming back. Starting with the D-line, Jalen Carter, he's looking like he's getting back to form right now. He's starting to get back to form. Just right before the bye, he was starting to get right back to form. But before that, he missed that first game. Everybody know what happened with that first game. And after that first game, he came back for the Kansas City game and was looking kind of out of shape in that game. He didn't really make much of an impact, but his presence was impactful enough. Like I said before, he get double teamed most of the time, so he frees up lanes for other guys on the team to eat. He also gets held all the time, but he doesn't have the reputation as a good guy in the NFL, so they're not going to call it for him. And that's just unfortunate, but that's the name of the game. So he's getting held all the time, but he's showing up more later in the season, like I said. And he's working very well with Moro Jomo. He's the bright spot on the D-line as well right now because he's really getting the sacks for the team. He has the most sacks on the team right now with 4. And, he's working well with Carter as well. And he's been able to flash this year with Milton Williams being gone. So he's been getting a lot more playing time, and he's finally showing what he can do. Jordan Davis, he flashed earlier in the season, but he needs to show more right now. He's been quiet in the last couple of weeks, after the heroic things that he did in the LA game. Right now, he hasn't been really showing much, but, he got to step it up right now, Jordan Davis. Josh Uche, he's also flashing right now. He had a strip sack the other day that they called back, but it was a strip sack. But nevertheless, he's doing well right now, can do a lot more, but he's doing well. Jalix Hunt starting to show what he can do as well, second-year player. And he got a sack the other day in the Giants game. And he's putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback coming off the edge, so he's doing well as well. Nolan Smith Jr. is scheduled to be coming back, and, he's the best in that position right now, especially for the young guys. So looking forward to see what he brings to the table and what he can add to the team when he comes back for the defense. So things are only up from there in that position, especially with BG being back and the addition of Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins. So we're going to see how that pan out. We're going to discuss that more later. But, that position is looking well right now on the line, from the interior to the edge. So we're going to see how things work out over there. Moving on to the linebackers, Zach Bond, starting to look at form right now. He's doing what he needs to do, making moves, flashing around, tackling. He got an interception in the Rams game, and he also has 3 sacks. So he has second leading in sacks, and he's done it from that position. Zach Bond, he's working well with Nakobe Dean, especially when he comes back. It always helps Zach Bond play at his best, and Nakobe Dean, he shuts down that run, filling that gap with violence and never shying away from the tackle and making the hard hits, letting them know it's not going to be sweet and it's not going to be easy running on the Eagles. And ever since he's come back, he's definitely made a statement in that position, allowing things to be easier for everybody else. Trotter Jr., he's another linebacker, but he's really on special teams right now. And he's great at that position. He's not scared to tackle. When you watch his tape, He's hitting hard, and every opportunity that he gets to play, he's playing, and he's not shying away from the opportunity to impress the coaches. Jahad Campbell, he's shown great things starting so far for a rookie in the season, and but he also has a lot to work on. Right now, he's making a lot of rookie mistakes. A lot of it is involving tackling. He's great in coverage, and he's doing well in that, but he's not doing so well against the run. He's not doing well against running backs at all when they're doing pass protection against them. He also lacks the physicality it takes when he's going after the quarterback. A lot of people want him coming off the edge, but I don't think he has the skills for that or the physicality for that. He's great in coverage. He had that interception in the Tampa Bay game, and he keeps up well in traffic, except for, in that Tampa Bay game. Before he had the interception, he let Bucky Irving go for a 70-yard, I think it was 70 yards or 72-yard touchdown reception. But, that was a blown coverage and a scramble play from Baker Mayfield. But other than that, he keeps up well in coverage, but he has a lot to work on right now, but he's also a rookie, so he's going to improve. The secondary is having weekly improvements right now. They have a lot of stability, but it's overly reliant on 2 second-year guys and DeJean and Mitchell. Mitchell, he's holding down this position at all times. That's a spot that you don't even have to worry about, and this year he's also traveling with guys a lot more, and it's a lot more convenient if there's a safety over the top at times, but he's definitely keeping up with guys by himself, and that's just one guy you don't have to worry about most of the time. If he gets a flag here or there, but that's the name of the game. That's part of his position. But he's always there, not scared to tackle, always keeping up with the guy. If you see him get burnt, it's not his fault on the play. If you watch it and you see the tape on it, you're going to see that, okay, it's a blown coverage, and he just used his speed to be the one to catch up with the guy to make the tackle. It's rarely his man when he's getting a lot of space between himself and an offensive player. So Quinyon Mitchell is somebody we don't have to worry about most of the time. And he went down in the Giants game in week 6, but he came back and he's doing his thing. So shout out to him. Cooper DeJean, also another guy we don't have to worry about. You don't hear his name unless he's making a big tackle or something. So, when you don't hear somebody's name, that's a good thing most of the time, especially on defense, because that means nothing is happening on their side. And if you do hear their name, it's because something negative happened or they took the ball away. So Cooper DeJean is another player we could rely on to play his position, and he does that well. Moving on with the cornerbacks, Adoree Jackson, there's been a lot of complaints about him all season. He has probably the most tackles out of all the cornerbacks, but that's because somebody's always making the reception on him and he has to tackle them because he started off 10 yards off the ball in the first place. So I'm not sure why they brought him in. He's not the best player at all. He doesn't make tackles well. He's not that fast. He's an older player right now. Keely Ringo is a guy that's been on the team for years, and a lot of people are tired of him. Other people, they don't really mind. They're not, they want things to work out for the guy. He's been around for a few years now. He's part of the Georgia guys. So people want things to work out for him. A lot of people want to see him succeed with the Birds. He's won the Super Bowl with the Birds now. And I'm one of the people that want to see good things happen for the guy as well, but he might need to go somewhere else and try something else. A change of scenery sometimes works out for guys because it's just not panning out. The best game he just had recently, it was because they did not target him at all, and he actually played 100% of the snaps, but nothing happened. So good for him in that game. But when he does get targeted, it's a great day for that receiver and also for that quarterback because they know who to attack. So Keely Ringo, one thing's to work out with the guy, but not sure what's going on with him. Decorian Bennett, waiting for him to come off injury reserve to see what we have in him, because from what I've seen so far, he's a lot stickier to the receiver and he plays, just a lot more interesting than Keely Ringo, not waiting for something to happen and then react, but he's right there with the receiver from what I'm seeing in play from him. So I want to see more out of him, and with the new acquisition that the team just made, not sure if he'll be CB2 or just back up for that position, but want to see him play and be able to evaluate him a lot more. The new acquisition that I was just speaking about, Jair Alexander and Michael Carter II, and I haven't seen them play for the Birds, so can't say much about them, but I know they're upgrades from what we have going on right now. We're going to discuss them a little bit later, but that's Howie Roseman making moves and just adding things for the team to help in positions that's needed. The safeties, Blankenship, he's still playing that standard form. There haven't been any interceptions, any dive-in picks, but he's still playing like himself right now. We know last year he played great with CJGJ, but this year he's playing with a rookie and a couple of new guys. So he's, got to direct things a lot more. He's a captain this year. So he's holding that position down well. Would love to see turnovers happen soon, but he's doing what he needs to do. Going through adversity in the LA game, seeing him, have a moment where he had to bounce back and have a similar play later on in the game that he was able to overcome the challenge. So shout out to Blankenship. Sidney Brown, another safety, but mostly playing special teams, and he does well in that position. He's a gunner, a reckless kind of guy. Seeing him miss a lot of tackles that way, but when he makes the tackle, he makes it, and he scored a touchdown in the Tampa game, being in the right place at the right time. The ball bounced to him. So, shout out to Sidney Brown. Doesn't really get much playing time at the safety position unless the Eagles are winning a game significantly, and he comes in the game with the backups, but playing special teams, he does well for the Birds. The last safety we'll talk about is Andrew McCooper, the rookie. He showed great moments at times already. 2 interceptions right now, leading for the team in interceptions in the secondary. So he's doing well, but he's also making a lot of rookie mistakes as well, blowing a lot of assignments and, just having moments where just wrong place at the wrong time, all the time at the wrong time. And then on top of that, missing tackles, just trying to tackle NFL players from the shoulders, and just a lot of film on him getting put on his stomach, missing the tackle, and the guy usually taking it for a further distance after that, or maybe even a touchdown. So even though he's been Johnny on the spot for a few interceptions, he's also been missing his spot a lot if you watch his film when it comes down to being at the right place at the right time, especially during when a quarterback is scrambling. Moving on to the offense. The offense is improving weekly right now, and they kind of have an inverted identity right now, because last year they were running to throw the ball, and this year running the ball wasn't working so well, and they've been working on the passing game all season long, and it's been working the last few games, and now the running game is working well with it. So it's seeming like they have to throw to run the ball this year. They started improving in pass protection weekly, and that's how things really started picking up. And the pass protection as well, it was working out because Hurts was scrambling a lot, especially that week 1 game that was all on him, and a lot of other offense that they get going in the passing game is off of Hurts scrambling. So it started helping them in pass protection, and now the run block is starting to pick up. And so the O-line is doing a lot better now. And the O-line doing better definitely helps the running backs do a lot better. Saquon Barkley started off bad due to the poor O-line play this year, and now he's starting to look at form. The year started with him not having any gaps and getting hit behind the line all the time. The stats on that is just crazy. Like last year, he was having huge gaps to run through and wasn't touched for 3 to 4 to 5 yards every run last year and most of his rushes. But this year, he's getting blown up behind the line on more than half of his rushes. So things weren't working out so well, but in the last few games, things been working out a little better, especially in the last game. Shipley, he mostly plays special teams as well, returning the ball, but he comes in on some plays every once in a while, doing second-year guy things. A.J. Dillon, he flashed initially. He had some moments in his limited play, but that fumble in the Giants game, even though they were losing, being a backup, I feel like that was just all she wrote for him right there. That literal fumble I think it just ended things for him, even though it was at the end of the game. It didn't help anything at all in his cause, especially with other people waiting for that spot. Ben Van Sumeren got hurt in the first game of the year, and it was the first play too, actually, on special teams. So we didn't really get to see anything from him playing that fullback position, but hopefully, we'll see more from him next year after the recovery from the injury. And Bigsby, he finally got a chance to play. He had one run in one of the games a few games back, but he was playing special teams before that, which I never understood the reason for it. It was something I was discussing already about a 1-2 punch with Saquon, and now we can see what that can look like. The tight ends, Dallas Goedert has his own touchdown record right now with 7 touchdowns, and he's just a reliable guy for the quarterback. He's been there for QB1's career, so he's a guy that took a pay cut to be back with the team this year. He just, he plays his position well. Great tight end. Want to see him play the whole season this year because it's really going to be impactful. Injuries has held him back most of his career, but he's right up there with the best of them. This guy has great run block abilities, and he also catches the ball well, runs great routes, and he's a threat after the catch. So Dallas Goedert plays his position well, and he's a great tight end for the Eagles. Grant Calcaterra, he's a nice receiver, but he has to work on his blocking and his physicality right now. But he gets open a lot, and when he gets the ball, it's usually for a nice chunk of yardage. But he's also somebody that gets injured a lot, and he's also out for a few weeks at times. But, he does what he has to do, and he has to work on his blocking because a lot of plays that could have been big plays, like the one play in Kansas City to start the game, could have been a big play to A.J. Brown for a touchdown, but he whiffed on his block. So, and I called it before that. I knew that he wasn't as great as a blocker as Dallas Goedert, who was injured for that game. The Eagles also have a couple other guys on reserve for tight end. The receivers, right now, Devontae Smith is looking like the number 1 for the Eagles this year. He's high up there on the top receiver list in the NFL this year so far. He's being very reliable this year, been playing all the games, and been the number 1 target for QB1, been very reliant, coming down with the catches after the tackle. Not enough you could say about Devontae Smith. He just plays his position well, no complaints, nothing. You never really hear anything from him or about him. He just goes to work. So you got to respect that. A.J. Brown, he's still A.J. Brown. Very dangerous threat. The opposing team always have to worry about him. So, he's still a cheat code when he's on the field. So, that's still something that they always got to worry about. And him with Devontae Smith right there, that's a nice 1-1 punch. So, you pick your poison with them. The thing with A.J. Brown right now, especially in the last few seasons, this season right now, just too much drama and personal things that's just, I don't understand what's going on with most of it, and I won't claim to understand it. As long as it's not affecting the performance with A.J. Brown, it's still A.J. Brown. Still got to worry about him, and, he's going to do his thing. Dotson needs some more looks from QB1 right now. That's been a Jalen Hurts thing that he has to work through in his career. He's getting a little better at it, but if you're a receiver 3, you're not really gonna get looks like that, and unless you're very reliable, he definitely needs more looks. Eagles also have a lot of guys on reserve for a wide receiver. For the quarterbacks for the Eagles, we start with QB1. This has been a very efficient year for him thus far. He's still doing what he does by doing what's needed to win the game, and doing what's specific for each game. But one thing that's been happening this year so far is too many sacks. I'd like to see that cleaned up because it's just a lot right now. Just each game just taking a lot of sacks, but that's also because he's staying in the pocket a lot more this year and getting great yardage this year as well. And this might be the year he might increase his touchdown count. As far as passing touchdowns are concerned, he's not really running a lot this year, not taking off, just trying to scramble to throw and maybe scramble to pick up the first down, but that's about it. So it's been a good year for him so far. Hopefully he keeps that up and takes it into the later half of the season. Tanner McKee as QB2, he's reliable. If anything were to happen that he were to be needed, I believe in him. I know he's a backup, but I think he can do well because he plays a position different from QB1. So there's other benefits from that as well, even though, like I said, he's still a backup. But he can definitely be useful, and he's a good enough backup that he can be QB1 for a lot of other teams in the NFL. Sam Howell as QB3, I don't mind it at all. He's a gunslinger. He's a wild boy. So if he was ever to be needed for whatever reason, he's going to use the receivers and, he's going to throw the ball. He's good for some interceptions, but he's going to play. So I'm good with the QB room for the Eagles. The special teams, let's talk about Jake Elliott. He's had 2 recent misses. The one from 2 weeks ago was his first miss of the year, and the last one in the last game was his second miss. What just makes it sad is that, there were kicks that he's made before, and there are kicks that he's made this year already. So he has to tighten up, because in those games that he missed those kicks, there were situations where he could have put the Eagles up by a full touchdown or 8 points or 2 touchdowns and things like that. That just changes the game. But him missing those kicks always kept the other team in the game, and even put the Eagles in positions that if the other team were to score, the Eagles would be down. So I know it's just 2 kicks right now, but gotta fix that, especially it's about to get cold and things are going to be only that much more difficult. So definitely have to be careful about that. Braden, man, he's having a great year punting the ball. He's been having some great punts in games, putting the Eagles in good positions. because he's pinning people back and just every kick, he's not having anything blocked, and he's also putting it in position that the other team has to always start the ball in positions that they can't return the ball, and if they do return it, the ball was hanging in the air long enough that the Eagles players are able to get down there. The special teams defense needs to step it back up. They were having a great first half of the year, blocking kicks and stuff, returning things for touchdowns. I know that doesn't happen all the time, but once you put that standard out there, you gotta keep working at it because you can do it. So you have to put a lot more pressure on the other team. Will Shipley's doing a good job returning the ball right now. Dotson is not doing a good job returning the ball. He's just fair catching it. And I hope they put somebody else out there because he's receiver 3. And that's important for other teams, even if the Eagles really don't use receiver 3 like that. Receiver 3 is important, so he shouldn't be doing that. And he's doing a lot of fair catches, so they just need to move on from having him do that. And Bigsby needs to stop returning the ball as well because it's not what he needs to be doing. So the new defensive additions, Jalen Phillips being on the defensive line, coming off the edge, just a great thing for the Eagles. Haven't seen him play for the Birds yet, but he's a great addition for the team. He's just going to bring a different look to the position. He's used to the coach's system already. Michael Carter II coming in for that slot position. Just great to add to that position with Cooper DeJean. And he has great things being said about him as well. And Jair Alexander, he's going to work out well for this team. I just have a great feeling about that. So the cornerback position just got a lot of help, and the defensive line just got a lot of help. And those were the two positions that Eagle fans and the media was saying that the Eagles really needed help in. So shout out to Howie Roseman for doing this thing about that. And right now, also in reserves for the Eagles, we have Ty Robinson and Jacorian Bennett, Mac McWilliams. So there's a lot just on reserve for the Eagles, as well as the new additions that they have that we can get a lot out of. The Eagles also have hidden offensive weapons and plans. Bigsby as Saquon's number 2 is a big deal right now. Devontae Smith as a hidden number 1 is also something that I feel like is a hidden offensive weapon for the Eagles, because everybody's always talking about A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown does great work for the Eagles, but Devontae Smith is a great receiver. This guy is a champion on many levels of the sport, and he runs his routes very well, has great hands, and for a guy his size, every time he takes hits, he pops back up and holds on to the ball. Dallas Goedert being a red zone threat right now. He's always been reliant for QB1 in the third down pickups. And like I said, he's great at run blocking. But now that he's a red zone threat, it's only going to be better for the team. Another hidden gem on the team right now is Jalen Hurts being slept on by the national media and probably the NFL alike. So that's just working out well for the Eagles. Because right now I think he's having his best veteran season, in my opinion. Because his best previous season was the 2022 season, which was his second year as a full-time starter. He led the team to 14-1 that year. And this year I feel like he's projected to have better stats this season while still remaining efficient. So I think he's having his best veteran season yet. The upcoming opponents that the Eagles have to go to Green Bay to play the Packers. And touching on that game just briefly, I don't know why the Eagles have to go to play them, because the Eagles beat them in the playoffs. So I'm not sure how that works, but looking forward to that game. We're going to discuss that in another video. Then after that, the Lions come to Philly. Then the Eagles have to go to Dallas. Then Chicago comes to Philly. Then the Eagles go to LA to play the Chargers. And then the Raiders come to Philly. Then the Eagles go to Washington. Then after that, they go to Buffalo. Then Washington comes to Philly. So it's an interesting schedule on the back end of the schedule. You know, there's a lot of teams in there that seemingly difficult. Some are going to be difficult. Some of them, their season's already in shambles and it's ending already for them. So who knows what it's going to look like by the time we play them. Some teams are still looking strong right now. Some teams are kind of fraudulent. So we'll see. The Eagles are number one in the NFC right now and the NFC East. Right behind them is Tampa Bay, the Seahawks, Green Bay, the Rams, San Francisco, and the Lions. The Colts are number one in the AFC and the AFC South. Right behind them is New England, Denver, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Jacksonville, and Kansas City. Top 10 in the NFL right now: Indianapolis, New England, Denver, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, Seahawks, Buffalo, Los Angeles Rams, Green Bay, Los Angeles Chargers. So the Eagles are in fourth place in the NFL right now. So the Eagles right now, they're not looking bad at all. In my opinion, they can play a lot better, but they're trending upwards right now, and they're showing that they're going to play a lot better. I'm not really into grading or anything, so I'm not going to give them any grades. But right now, they're showing that they can play a lot better than they've played, especially earlier in the season when they were still able to win games. Now they're winning games more at their own pace. The numbers might not show it all the time, but Eagle games that are ending with them taking the knee, it's a perfect game. The score might not indicate it, and sometimes the stats might not show it either, but comfortable Eagle games are games that they win the game with the quarterback taking the knee. And that's starting to happen a lot now, and having things in control as the game is going on, the defense playing well, the offense capitalizing, and it's working out well. The last game that the Eagles played was one of their most efficient games that they've played in recent times. So shout out to them for playing. Can't wait for them to play Green Bay when they come back. We're going to talk about that. But this has been the midseason recap and evaluation of what they've done so far. I feel like they've done well so far. You know, overall, there's been some bumps in the road, but they've been righting the ship while still getting the wins. And now I feel like they finally found their footing and found the formula for what needs to work going forward. So shout out to the Birds, and I know they're going to continue to keep winning. We're going to keep making these videos talking about the Eagles and their games, and hopefully keep talking about their wins. Go Birds.
Them birds gon' fly, you already know. Brains to the snow, Eagles train to go. Say what you want about a cute good coach, but all they do is whip, put their feet on your throat. Line hunts, secondary, no fly zone. When you leave the link, it's a long flight home. Them birds gon' fly, you already know. Brains to the snow, Eagles train to go.